Exception handling in Java. It's a very important topic because many time we need to handle the exceptions. So today we are going to learn all things about an exceptions, Java exceptions. So what exactly do why we need to handle that kind of things and what exactly exceptions and all the things related to this exception we are going to see. Basically, the things start exception from the error. So the very first things comes into mind what is an errors. So in general, there are programming errors. So that comes into two types of errors. So you may consider as a syntax error. The syntax error, you may consider it is also as a compile time error. Means while compiling the programs, the syntax will error will occur. The second time error is not this type of error, is a logical error. Means syntactically it is a correct, but there is some logical error is there. So that is considered as logical error. Mean for even odd number, if you are writing the code like if n mod not equal to 2, then even number. So basically syntax is correct, but you have done the wrong logic, so you're getting wrong output. So that is one kind of other error. But apart from this, there are some kind of an error which are not either syntax error or not or a logical error, but the errors occurs at a runtime. After running the programs, if you are getting some exceptions or some errors, that errors are nothing but an exception. The runtime errors are exceptions. So this is things, if you not handle this exception, so what will happen? Suppose you have 1,000 lines of programs, 100 lines of programs. Line number one, line number two, dot 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 dot, line number 100. If suppose assume that if exception occur at line number 3, then all the further line after 3 is not going to execute. Okay? So this is problems. So this is why we need to handle an exceptions. If we not handle exceptions, all the further lines are get stopped. They are not going to execute. So now how to handle this exception? Initially we see the syntax error, logical error, what are the runtime errors, and what exactly happens, the situation also. And to handle these exceptions, there are certain keywords are designs, and that keywords are try, catch, right? So this thing we are going to see. In many programming language, even though in C++ is also there, in Python is also there, in Java is also there. Yes. Oh, you have to tell before, not before starting. Actually, I'm writing all the things on a screen. Not a problem. So I'm listing out this all the things. Can you see now? Yeah. So basically, there are certain keywords which is using that we can handle that exceptions. So errors are syntax error, that is also known as a compiler error, some kind of logical errors, and some errors are occurs at runtimes errors. So very latest example that we are working with an array. So we observe that. Suppose if we have any array here. So let's consider as an array examples. So this is array. Now see that in the character array we have the four characters or four things, means index is available from 0, 1, 2, 3. If you run this program, we'll get the outputs very well, man. There is not a problems at all. So if you run these programs, you'll come to know if you're getting output properly. But though you try to access some index position which is not available, this is not a logical error or not a syntactical error. Syntactical error, it is a correct. Logically, it is a correct. but that index position is not available, so that's why it's showing throwing in exceptions. See the exception in main thread. And what is the exception? That array out of bound index exceptions. There are many types of exceptions. Apart from this, is nothing but array out of bound index exception. Okay. So problem is not about an exception, but whenever this exception occurs, all the further lines is not going to execute. The system will be get terminated. So that is the biggest problems. So that's why it's very important to handle the exceptions, because at any times or based on any situation that errors occurs. So better way to handle that exceptions. Okay. So now we are going to see how to programmatically handle that exception. And before that, we'll check a kind of errors as well, and two, three kind of exceptions. There is one keyword is also there, that is a final keyword. That also we are going to see. So let me create one package and I will give it name as an exception. Right. Exceptions finish. So firstly we'll see the error demo. Your class error. So main class we can take, not a simple class. So consider there are two kind of error. So first let me give the syntax error is one syntax. Syntax error means what? If you try to print something, so let's me print it at hello. Hello. So I'll write the second line as just try to observe what I'm trying to explain. And I'm writing in hello Java. But assume that I forget to give the semicolons. Now this is a syntax error. There is an error. It is syntax error. Insert semicolon to complete the statements. But if you though you're there is a syntax error and still you're try to run this programs, you'll come to know that it's giving an error. Error exists in require projects you want to launch. Means before running the programs, it's throwing in errors. So this is a syntax error. And if you handle this syntax errors, so now this program will works. So this is a kind of an error. This kind of error known as a syntax error. But there are some logical errors are also there. Assume that if we have some number n is equal to something, okay, and if you are trying to check whether this number even or not, and for that you are writing a logic. So I'm just writing logic that n mod, instead of 2 I'm writing 3, just for assumptions. We know that this thing is syntactically correct. There is a no syntax error. Okay. But the problem is the logical errors. So it's if I try to print the even number, it is actually not a even number. Right? The problem is here, though I'm writing the even number, but some kind of let's 12. Okay, n mod 2. If I write a 0 here or 3 here, suppose a 98 I'm writing. So let's check. See. So 98 is an even number, but still it is not printing. Just because of it is a logical error. So what is the correct logic? Mod 2 is a correct logic. Right? So this kind of an error is known as logical errors may occur. Or logical is wrong. So that is logical errors. Right? Now, apart from this, there are certain errors which is occurs at runtime. Just assume that after this, so I'll taking one number, integer n equal to somethings. I'm taking one more numbers. Let's see that d is equal to somethings. And if I try to print this, float ans is equal to n divided by d, right? And if I'm printing this answer equal to plus ans, what will be the answer for this program? What will be the answer? N mod 2. What is the value of n? N divided by 10 divided by 2. So 5 will be the answer, right? Correct. Na? We are getting hello after that 10, and then the normal flow. Let me write the normal flow. Normal flow. If I run the programs, then everything is work perfectly. We are getting hello. We are getting the answer. And just because of this is a logical error, the logical error is not correct. So you are not printing this. But at the end, we are having normal flow. So this is absolutely fine. But if some users may enter a zero number, even if you check your own calculator, still you can find that if you try to divide any number by zero, it will throw errors. This can't divide by zero. So that means they are also having getting an exceptions and they have handled it. If they are not handling this exception, this application will be get crashed. But they have handled and they're giving a proper message. Now, if I try to run this program, so you can observe this. After hello, we are having an errors. That error is zero division errors. Arithmetic exceptions can't divide by zero. Zero division. Okay, and just because of we are getting an exceptions, all the further line which are not executable. See, we are after hello, we are not getting any outputs, right? Just because of we are having an exceptions. So this is the things may occur the situation because it depend on the users. Though we are writing a syntactically correct, logically correct, but there are some systems errors which may occur at the run times. And to handle this kind of an exceptions, we have some keywords specially made in the exception handling chapters. And that keywords are nothing but try, catch, and excepts. This try, catch block. So whenever you want that, wherever you decided or you observe that this may the throw exceptions or there may be a chances to having exceptions. So write that entire code within a try and the catch block. Okay. So for writing this try catch block, we'll come to know. So where we have a chance to get error here. So that block we can enclose with the help of try and the catch. In Python, we are using except, but here use exceptions. So exception is a root class for all the classes, all the exceptions. Otherwise, you need to specify the specific error, which kind of exception is occurs. So now there is no need. Exception it will handle all kind of an error. So if you observe this, you'll come to know up to now what is happening here. We are getting an exception after hello. Just because of having an exception, all the further lines are not executing. But if you run this program now, after handling these exceptions, you observe some things. Though there is an exception occurs, zero division error, but it is not providing or it is not stopping the further execution. All the further executions are keeps on going. So let me check it syntactically, logically correct as well. Now we're having have events, and though we are getting exception, but still it is not affecting because we are handling that exception. And to handle such a kind of exception or a runtime of error, we have to make a use of try and the catch block. So whenever you want or you like there is a situation that you can get an error, so write that code within a try and catch block. So this is simplest way to handling a try catch exceptions. It's understood this try catch. Okay. So this is try catch is a concept. Now it is an some kind of helping point we need it. It is not compulsory to write a try catch, but it is an importance. And why it is importance? Because sometimes may errors occurs at run times, and just because of that all the further lines are get affected. So better way to write such a code into a try catch blocks, though error occurs that doesn't affect. See, now if I try to write such a kind of thing, suppose 4 years, we'll get proper outputs, not a problems. If error occurs, then also it's going to handle it. If not occurs, then it is printing the regular patterns. So this is advantage of try catch blocks. We have to write it. Okay. Let me show you something. So I'll show my the company code. So this is my company code. It's very lengthy code actually. If you observe this code, so it's around 2,500 lines of codes. Okay. That took me 6 months to write this code. So a lot of logical and things are added. But what I'm trying to say, show you that if you observe many times I'm using try catch block. This is try and catch. See that the multiple try catch. Even here also I'm using try catch. See, this is try catch, try catch, try catch. Why I'm using try catch? Because I will use the tell you the secondary use of this also, so that you'll come to know. Among this, suppose I have a program I have written the 2,400 lines. If I'm having some errors, so to find that particular error, I need to observe or need to scan all the 2,500 or 400 codes. And it will take a lot of times because I don't know where the error exactly occurs. Why I'm taking the multiple try catch? Because that exactly divide me. I've written the two main block. First 1200 one try catch and the second 1200 one try catch. If I'm getting the error at the first block, so I will skip this all 1200 lines. So half of time is get over. Then again I have divided that 1200 into a 600 by 600. If I'm getting the error at this block, so the 600 is already going to skip. And again I'm dividing that 300 into the 300s. And then 150 into the 150. Then the 75 into the 75. So directly, indirectly, it's showing me the exact patterns where I'm having the proper errors. So in that way also the exception is useful to detect the errors where you are having that kind of exceptions. Okay. And only we need to remember there are such a kind of a block, try and the catch. With the help of this try catch block, we can able to handle such a exceptions. Okay. So as we are already in the programs, so there may have a chance to get an errors. To handle such a kind of an error, we have a try and the catch block. If you are printing this object, बोल ना लवकर. तो बोलो. Got it? Okay, now we'll see the many variant of this. So if you want to print an exact error, system errors, you can use print this object directly as it is. Okay. But if you want to write your own defined message, you can simply write here as per you want. Like can't divide by zero. Okay. You may write this can't divide by zero. Okay. Now we'll get your own errors like error. Oh, we are not having error because we are not dividing zero. So let's divide it zero and now observe this. Getting so instead of system error, you can print your own error as well. That is possible. So instead of writing the object, you can write this. Because some system error user is not going to understood what exactly it is. In the same manner, if you observe here, even they are also written the can't divide by zero. Okay, the same things we can do. Right. And remember, in case of exception, you can write the specific error as well. So, like this is an error of zero, zero, arrow, zero division error, division by zero, sorry, division by zero, where we have something division. What exception we are having? Division or zero division error. So means if you know exactly what error it is, that error also you can handle. If you don't know what kind of error may occurs, at that time you can may write directly exception. So exception will handle all kind of an error. So there is no need to write a specific error. So let's check me first what error it's throwing. Okay, it is basically comes under the arithmetic exceptions. Arithmetic exceptions. Either you can write this specific exception because it is specially made for all the calculation related exceptions. It is handled. But now assume that within that try catch block, you're writing some different logic, and that different logic may be just consider now as of we are having one string s is equal to something test. Okay, and if you are trying to accept um, s dot char at position 10, and if you try to run these programs, so you will having an exceptions. Now the questions comes here. Though we are using a try catch block, still we are having exception. And just because of that, all further lines are not executing. And then why it is? Because we are specifically handling only a arithmetic exceptions. So that means this block is able to handle only the mathematical related exceptions, not the string related exceptions. So to avoid this problem, there are two ways. Either you can write a multiple catches like CATCH. You can write a multiple catch. What kind of error we are having here? Just assume that that is string index out of bound exceptions. So you can write here string, the string index out of bound index exceptions. This is a one way. Yes. Now this error will be get handled. Perfect. So this is handles. But Maybe there are some different kind of an errors. Let's assume that now we have one string, and that string is storing a null value, and with this null value, if you are trying to print the length of that string, and now if you try to check the output, you'll observe again there is an exceptions, that is null pointer exception. You are observing the problems. So depending on type, you have to write a catch block for every kind of an errors. So maintaining a so many catch block is very hectic. So the better option for this, instead of writing the multi-point kind of exceptions, simply use what? Exception. Okay. The exception will be handled all kind of an exception. It may be the any kind of an exceptions. Exception. Exception. EXCE exceptions. Okay. What happened here? Let's try cats. Try CATCH catch. Okay. So now exception will handle all kind of an errors. It may be in any kind. Okay. So instead of writing this many errors or this many try catch block, just write an exception. The exception will handle all kind of an errors. Okay. Now there is no need to maintain the specific errors. So always remember, though you are try to print the specific errors, but always write one common error that is an exceptions. You may observe that even in my code, I have written some SQL related exceptions. See the exception as so many time I use a common exception. But at somewhere I have mentioned the see now they specifically I mentioned here that class not found exceptions and then SQL exceptions. Because I'm sure about this code, this will only throw the two kind of an exception, either the class not found or an SQL exception. So I'm sure about this. But if you're not sure the what kind of an error it throw, always try to print an exception. And why we need, though there is an exception handling all kind of an errors, why this special the types is made. So there is a reason why it is made, because we have to maintain the count which kind of an error we are getting many times repeatedly. This is handle the exception, but maintaining the count, the which kind of an error having an again and again. So that will be difficult for this. But this specific in error, we can maintain the counter, and based on the number of time that specific exception, we can increase the count. Here, the common exceptions, it is difficult because again we need to maintain the many if else condition within that. So if you want to specific exception counts, so go for the specifications, but always use the SEP exceptions if sometime other than this any errors occurs. So that also make it handled. Okay. So we are seeing the variation of try-catch blocks. Either you can use a simple try-catch, that also possible, or else you can use a specific kind of an errors, that is also okay, or else you can use a single try with a multiple catch blocks, that is also possible. And fourth option, you can use a multiple try catch block, that is also possible. Okay. So remember, based on our need, so whichever the error we want to handle it, that kind of an error should be handled with a try catch block. Carrying the basic understanding of an exceptions why we need to handle the exception, what exactly the exception is, how it occurs, or basically when it occurs, and how to handle it. You understood this? Okay. Concept of exception handling is very important. The concept that we have done, that we also implemented it. Okay. The basic errors, then we are having syntax error, logical errors, and some runtime errors. And to handle such a runtime errors, we need exception handling. And to handle exception, there is a block is given, try and the catch blocks. Okay. So this is a basic understanding of an exception, what exactly the exception is and how to handle the exceptions and the types of exceptions. Also, we have seen the arithmetic, the string out of bound index, even though array out of bound index exception is also there. File not found exception also there. There are many kind of exceptions. So instead of keeping all the things separately, just go for the common exception. It will handle all the exceptions, whatever it may be. Okay. So in today's session, we have just understand about an exceptions and how to handle the exception, how to make a use of try catch blocks. So tomorrow we are going in some depth about an exceptions. That are some types of exception are there, which are the checked and unchecked exceptions. So just we'll try to list which are the checked exception and which are the unchecked exceptions. There are types. So which kind of an error we can say that are checked and which are not checked. CHACK, CHECKED. Checked and unchecked. CHACKED. Unchecked. CHACKED. Whatever it may be a spelling, but assume that. There are checked and unchecked exceptions. Okay. Even though there is a provision to define user defined an exception. Today we have seen we can use the user defined message. It is a message, it is not an exception. But tomorrow we'll see how to define our own exception. User defined, or you can say that the custom exception. Can we create our own exception? Is that possible? So that is possible. Okay. So tomorrow we'll see how to define the custom exception. And there are two keywords are there. That keywords are throw, throw. There is one throw is there, throw, throw, and the throws, throws. So even we'll see when to use this throw and throws keywords, how to generate a custom exceptions, which are the exception which comes under the checked and which are the exception which comes under unchecked. So all the possibilities of related, and one more thing we are going to see, and that is nothing but finally a block. Okay, finally blog also we are going to see. So these are the some basic the concept that we are going to see in the second session or in tomorrow. But today you understood why we need an exception, what is the purpose of exception, and how to use the simple try catch. Okay, friends. I will share these programs. Just execute at your side. If you have any errors, you can ask me. Not a problem. Okay. The rest of things we'll see tomorrow. I will share this program with you. Okay. Not a problem. So see you guys. Bye bye.